Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first Unite Live, which is going to be a bi-weekly coming from here in our home of Carlsbad, Southern California. So wherever you are in the world, that's where we are. And what you're going to see, which is slightly different, this is on a Zoom application, obviously, is that it's not like your phone, is that we have it sort of rigged in that it's going to be slightly better quality, well, a lot better quality from our wonderful cameraman, Mike, that you will hear at some point over the course of the weeks of these lives. But it gives us the ability to zoom in and really give you high quality definition on certain areas of the head. And he's going to just show you that very, very quickly now. So there you go, wonderful model Paget. More on Paget, less on me is way, way better for anyone on a Monday morning. So welcome to our very first live with Unite. I want to talk a little bit about what to expect, not only in this class, but in future ones as well, because I think it's very exciting for us to launch a vehicle like this. This is also adjacent to everything else that we're offering on Instagram and on our website at unitehair.com, is that it allows you to access video content for your staff, for yourself to watch 24/7, which is, I think, is really important. Is the access of that now is that you haven't got to worry about attending the class at a certain time, date. You've had a long weekend. I've got to be in a class at 8 a.m. before I start work. No, you can watch this at night over when you're having your dinner or when you're stuck in bed and you're on your phone. Watch the class then to suit you, which I think is very, very important. Today's class, I wanted to do something to start this ball rolling with something very simple. It's called professional finish and what all of that entails. So on my willing model here, I've got freshly washed hair that's been allowed to air dry on one side, and I've got wet hair on this. So I've got a multitude of products behind me that is going to allow me to go through different permutations and different effects on hair to achieve professional finishes. So we're not concentrating on one hairstyle, we're concentrating on a multitude of different techniques to help you, especially, you know, hairdressers that are either new to the brand or are just very fresh in their career. I think you'll find this very, very useful, but also those that maybe need a little refresher and old hands of hairdressing like myself that have been around a long time, but maybe not too familiar with the product line, that will be able to hopefully get a few good tips. We're going to encourage you to ask questions in our chat box. So if you've got any sort of like problematic areas you deal with on clients, hopefully I can help with those. So without further ado, let's get stuck in to what we're dealing with here. So as I said before, Paget's got, you know, this hair's been freshly washed, allowed to air dry, rough dry in, no product in there apart from just the 7 seconds, nothing in this side. 7 seconds leave-in conditioner is the beginning of our prep. Why would I use this? Well, it not only moisturizes the hair and is a great detangler, but it also allows us to strengthen the hair as well. So just sectioning the hair off like all good hairdressers do, just applying 1 or 2 dustings over the hair, depending where it needs it as well. Very, very important to understand that. And then I'll just comb that through for even distribution. Now, combing the hair through at this point starts us off in the process of what I call really good habits of being a hairdresser, because it allows us to work clean and methodically with the hair. So I'm going to start one average size section to blow dry. So you're going to have to excuse that we are going to be using a hairdryer at some point, because I think it's very important that you actually see that process going on. And we're going to talk about product choice. So let's say Paget's hair is a lot finer than it is, but we can, you know, role play this as it were to give you a decent effect. So she wants body in this hair, but smoothness as well. What's my product of choice going to be? So we're going to go to a favorite, Booster Volumizing spray. So let's see how much I'm going to use. Liberal amount on wet hair. Once again, we'll have a little bit of a comb through. And I'm going to rough dry this in. So this is only my first application of the booster. This is how I like to use it when either I'm used to working on clients in the salon, or if I'm on set, or more importantly, when we are backstage at Fashion Week, which I'm going to touch on a little bit later on. So I'm layering the product in to get the most out of that application. So no brushwork going on just yet. So I'm going to put in another layer. So I want to get my maximum amount of benefit out of this. Yes, you could blow dry straight away, not a problem, but I'm saying this is the adage of, like, if I'm dealing with very fine hair and I want to put body into it. So I've got an average size section, distribute that product the way through. And what I found is, because I've rough dried the hair off, the product is getting sort of like that double layer in there. Still not going in quite yet with a brush, because what I find on fine hair, the more I stay away from that root base and just rough dry it in, the more volume I can create. So let's just add some more rough drying to this. So what you've seen there is her root base instantly jump out for me, and it's got support. So if you could feel this, you can feel the product in there, which is what I want, but it doesn't look like there's any product in, which is very important to understand, especially, which is one of the benefits of using Unite, is that we always want to make sure the hair still looks like hair, even though you've got a lot of product in there. It doesn't overcomplicate it. It doesn't create real heaviness to it. It's a lightweight volumizing spray. This is a little session technique that I used to use for years about blow drying fine hair, is that rough drying all of that root base and then not going near it with a brush, and then allowing myself to come away from that root base with a brush and then blow drying it would leave all of that volume in there. I can put in some expander dust afterwards when I'm finished, or in between sections, to add more volume just by tapping that in. But this would be the start of it. So you can imagine if I do all of that sort of rough drying all the way through the head to give that root base support, and I would only use the brush on the top layers, say like from a parting, 3-4 inches either side. That would get the polished area, and the polished area underneath is going to come in just beyond mid-length, closer to the root and all the way down. Okay, so that's one way of dealing with that. But let's come in with a brush. So what I want to do is that this is a small brush, actual barrel size, to help me take away any sort of frizziness in the hair. That's the help of the product. But I'm using a small barrel brush in there to get it really in close to the root, to add maximum support in the root base. If I carried on blow drying this all the way through to the ends are going to get curly. Now, she as a client may not want curly ends. She maybe want a smooth finish. So I'm going to show you just a little trick for getting both of those results. On the ends of the hair for this, I'm going to use a tiny bit of Smooth and Shine. Smooth and Shine being a hybrid product with argan oil in. I've only used a very tiny amount. And this is just going to help me seal the ends in when I'm blow drying. It's very concentrated, so you never have to use a lot. So let's come back in with the brush, do a little bit of blow drying, and I'm going to come back to you. But what I'm finding right now is that the hair's got a really nice grip in it from sort of like doubling up on my booster spray. So although it's lightweight, very easy to use, I'm really now getting a real tug on the hair. And that's really important to me, because what I'm doing is I'm changing the fabric of hair that I'm working on. And by that, what I mean is that I'm changing the fabric of hair to something that I want to work with and the finish I want to get. And understanding that earlier on in your career is very, very important. Now, for me, going back in time, I was taught that a brush is very much like a setting roller. It's just got a handle on it. So I'm thinking like I'm setting the hair with a roller, but I'm making it a lot faster than sitting under a hairdryer. I'm putting root movement into that base with a smaller brush, making it easier for me. And then without twisting the brush, I'm twisting it in the root base. I'm then just going to let the brush ride through in one movement with my wrist. So it's twist in the root and then smooth out. Okay, let's go over that again. So twist in the root with your fingers and then smooth out. You're still going to get these ends to kick under if you're not careful, but I'm going to show you how to overcome that. Now I'm coming down the mid-length of the hair down to the ends. What's the difference I'm working on through here? So when I'm coming down with the brush, I actually turn my wrist slightly towards the client, model, etc. And what that does, it takes away the beveling motion of the round brush and keeps the hair smoother. So argument's sake, you could do the same effect with a paddle brush. It'd be the same motion because it's straightening, or with a Denman brush. But what you're not getting then is the hair curling around the brush. Okay, so let's go through that. So I'm twisting root base, sliding through mid-lengths, and then when I get to the mid-length, I then just turn my wrist very slightly and then carry on through with a straight movement. And that is going to keep this much smoother. I'm going to do this in real time just to show you how quick it's going to look. So what I've looked for when I'm doing the ends of the hair is that the brush is not tugging anymore, and that's a sign that the water has been taken out of the hair enough. If you're getting any sort of tug still in your brush, there is always a sign that the water is still in the hair, because like the porosity value, obviously, classic case of like someone like Paget's got balayage in the hair, the water content is going to stay longer in the bottom of the hair. So you've got to work it a little bit more. Okay, the cuticles will be slightly more open. So to get a really nice finish on that, you've just got to spend a bit of time working on the ends of that hair. I don't want to come back in with a hot tool on this because I don't want to flatten the hair out, flatten the cuticle on this occasion. So I'm just going to carry on, smooth those ends under, and then very, very quickly, I'm going to pin this to show you how I can pin it without creating any excess curl on the ends of the hair, but still maintaining a little bit of root movement. Let's go back into that. Always good just to work the hair without the dryer. So what I'm doing now is that I'm making sure the hair's been blow dried thoroughly enough, because if the water's out of it, it's going to maintain a little bit of heat in the hair. By just running my fingers through this, I'm checking that the hair is cooling down sufficiently as it is, and I'm working it, and I'm putting the finish on the hair while I'm doing this. So never be frightened of working that with the brush. And then I come in, I will then put the root movement in there and then leave the ends out just to sit and cool down. So that's going to give me support in the root base, smooth ends, nice little tip for you. Come back in, a little bit of RePlay hairspray on the underneath, fantastic hairspray that we're using. And we'll go into more detail about that in a little while. Let that cool off, go on to your next section. So we try something slightly different on here. Much bigger section. So we're looking at maybe the hair being coarser and more problematic, maybe. how do we get this to have a really, really nice, smooth, flat finish, as opposed to having body in the hair? So we've gone for a much more of a generous section. Luckily enough, Paget's got curl in her hair, but how do we make that look beautifully smooth without maybe having to resort to using a flat iron to really flatten that hair out? But how do we make sure that is concentrated down at the root base? Come back in. We're going to start in with a bit of laser straight, just a relaxing fluid. Obviously, you know, quantities are going to vary on how much of the hair you're working on. So I'm only using a very sort of like a dime size for just this section. I'm going to apply that in roots to ends, nice and liberally. Combing through once again, get used to working nice and methodically. As I said before, anyone got any questions they want to throw out in the course of this class, please feel free. Any problematic areas you feel like you're dealing with, hair that you find hard, I'm more than happy to answer any of those questions. I'm going to come back on the ends with a bit of U oil, which is our argan oil, extremely lightweight, has beautiful glossing properties and can be used on wet or dry hair. So I'm layering this over the top of the laser straight. Now, laser straight doesn't necessarily flatten the hair out. You can have as much body as you like with laser straight. It's a smoothing fluid to control the cuticle of the hair and to keep it nice and smooth, to eliminate any frizz. So for this, I'm going to come back in and start off the rough drying with a paddle brush. We've got a question there, Mike? Are we all okay? The paddle brush, what I'm doing is I'm keeping making sure I've got great tension in this. A little tip for you as well, paddle brushes work extremely well if you've got knotty hair, working them in this direction with the bristles. They're very, very effective if you turn it round lengthwise and put it in that way. You'd be surprised how easy it is to work. If you've got hair that's really knotty, you need to start it off. Just try it like that, work it that way or work it down. You'll be surprised how easy it is. It rides through the hair. But of course, consequently, I'm using this horizontally. I can use this because it's a large brush, large section. So very important. I'm marrying up large sections with the tools I'm looking to use. Locking the hair on the brush with my thumb, using high heat, high speed. You'll also see how I use the hairdryer. The nozzle is always pointing away from the scalp of the hair. Very important when you start hairdressing. Not only that, it's very important if you're working in close proximity to other hairdressers, be it in a salon or backstage, is that I've got control of where this nozzle is pointing. It's pointing directly down to the floor, away from the client. Why is that important? Because I don't want this flying around all behind me, ruining the other person's blow dry working next to me, or if I'm backstage working hard, we're trying to do perfect hair. That's not going to be detrimental to the stylist next to me. We've all got that one stylist who likes to blow everyone's hair as well as the client they're working on, who works in the salon, so we can all have a laugh about that. So let's carry on blow drying this. So keeping that under control all the time Same principle I was working when I was doing the hair curlier or putting in more body on the hair. As you can see through here, when I'm working on the hair, I use the hair dryer slowly, methodically, then take it away, and then it lets it start to cool. And as it's cooling, I will then just let the brush just ride through. And that cooling process, because you're changing the alpha to beta in the hair, is that you're closing the cuticle down, it starts to cool down, and you're helping it smooth the cuticle out. Let's throw a little one permutation into this. Let's argument's sake, Paget's hair is curlier in the front here, which is very handy. You've got a thick section of hair, and this is where sometimes curly hair works from being actually wetter than it would do if you're rough drying it. As you say, I didn't do any rough drying on this to smooth the hair out. I've come straight in over the top of product. So I'm going to use a small brush, small barrel brush, just like I did, and I'm going to come in over the top and lock that hair in. Okay, let's just see that hand movement again. Come over the top, lock the hair in. That gives me a really great amount of tension to the hair. This doesn't stop the hair riding through the brush, as you can see through here, but it really does keep it really nice and smooth and straight. And what that allows me to do, because I'm not putting the brush underneath to add body, is that that allows me to then to really pull the hair down to the face shape. And I think this is the flattest I can ever work a hair, even in comparison to using Denmans, etc. So anyone big fans of Denmans out there, there's no sort of that riding motion with the brush. We're just not adding any root movement at all. So let's see how smooth we can get this. I came back in there with cold air just to help it set. So as you can, Michael show you through here on the camera, is now that hair is sitting flush to her scalp, and it allows me to keep that really smooth. So any like really heavily textured hair you're dealing with, that's the best way I've found of really helping that smooth out. And that's almost better than, you know, using an iron on it, because I'm not getting any beveling in there. It's keeping it nice and straight. And as you see, as close as I got to her root scalp, close to the face, we've been able to handle the nozzle and the brush correctly, kept all the heat away from her face. She wasn't wincing or anything like that. Paget will agree with me, she didn't get burnt. So, you know, I think you'd be surprised how easy it is to control. So little things like that, when we're talking about professional finishes, being able to use your tools correctly and understanding what you're doing with the hair to create these different methods and how to smooth hair out. So that's our smoothing process, one for fine hair and one for really thick hair. Let's take that piece out of the bottom. So as you can see through here, it's got a great amount of volume in there. That's just going to brush through smooth, but all the volume is in her root base. Just turn your head to the front, Paget, for me. There you go. There you go. Look at that. You've got all that kick out through here, but the ends are smooth. So she would be very, very happy with that as a paying client, but it blends in wonderfully with that other section on the top. So even seeing through here, if you've got problematic areas and the hair differentiates from top to bottom, you can now see how we've now got that kicking away from the face there, which is really important to understand that, because contouring just with makeup doesn't finish there. You can contour it with a blow dry as well, is that we've now kicked this away from a cheekbone area, and that helps create a heart shape, or will then draw your eye line down into the jaw area as well. So tiny little things like that look great in photographs. The last area on here, we've got one more, so we're going to use a nice little combination of product. We're going to define that parting, very, very important as well. We separate in there, always check in the mirror, see like through here, I've got that going on as a diagonal. So my little tip for creating great partings, generally always come up and split the eye in half. Put your little towel comb through here and work that up. Split the eye in half through here so the front's good. Very, very important when we're working backstage. Let me separate down. As you see through here, I've still got tiny diagonal working on there. Very, very important, especially when you're doing bridal hair or anything like that. Tiny little details like this can make a huge difference for when you're doing hair. And that's what you'll see when we're backstage, we're very, very precise when we're doing partings, etc. So that's my little tip for you. Another little professional finish. Split that eye in half. Generally is always a great area to where you want to put your parting. Great balance. So let's put in a bit of volume all the way through this section now. She wants smooth but volume all the way through. My product of choice for this, I'm going to use some Elevate Mousse. We always advertise this is not your grandma's mousse. Comes out like a whipped cream out of the can. Once again, roots to ends, ideal. You can use a huge amount of this, and the beauty of this has also got our argan oil in, so the distribution of it is great, but you've got a great shine factor, great hold, but without any crispiness of what those mousses were like years ago. All the alcohol contents are really high. They used to dry to like a really hard, crispy feel to them. This changes the hair into something like a real smooth, suede-like fabric. We're going to come in with a larger brush, larger barrel, and then we can start moving this hair, really working it. So back on the hairdryer. What you can see through here is a combination of really like a technical rough dry, but also starting to work that root base to get it to jump off the scalp. Combinations of drying technique, I'm coming from the underneath and going over the top, always working as, you know, really, really smoothly. So I'm really working the hair, but putting that cuticle under as much stress and tug as I can. As you say through here, like the brush is locked in. I want to feel like the head's going to pull. So if you've got a client that always wants to come with you, like Paget, just come with me. You never want that. Just say to them, just pretend you're having an argument with your other half and you always want to resist them. All girls know what that's like. You're just going to stay there. You're going to resist it. Look at that. She knows exactly what that's like. She resists straight away. So I just carry on working the hair with the brush, taking the hairdryer away. You're going to see me take the hairdryer away when I'm doing this, because I'm going to be molding that hair with the brush and my hands as I'm working it. So let's carry on. Just take note of where the nozzle is, where I'm putting the heat, where I'm taking it away. So a little blast of controlled heat there at the finish. As you can see, like a different couple of times I'm putting the brush in. Now she's got a forward grad haircut, forward graduation. So consequently, the hair at the front is going to be shorter. So pull your brush out there accordingly with it. Allows the majority of the hair to stay in. And by taking the brush side to side, make sure all the hair stays in that brush. Okay, his hair's still got a bit of heat into it, which is great. So what I'm going to do, and while it's got heat in it and while it's cooling down, I'm going to just work it a little bit. Okay, this is me molding the hair. Really important to understand this. It just doesn't stop just because I've taken the hairdryer away. If I'm working, I'm feeling the hair through, making sure there's a constant feel to the fabric of the hair. There's no excess waters left in it. I can feel through here that the cuticle is slightly different down in here. And on the ends, just needs a tiny bit of work. So if I just come back in with the hairdryer quickly, give it a quick blast. So I came underneath, put the heat into it, stretch that hair. Now I'm coming in, I can really feel it as the hair's cooling down, working it, working it, working it. Very important to understand that. And also, as I said before, I feel the cuticle all the way through, roots to ends when I'm doing this. And eventually it becomes very subconscious what you're doing. You can really feel where the hair's gone to a sufficient state to feel in great condition and to have some shine on it, excuse me. And at this point, as it's cooling down, I'm going to switch out the brush, pull out a nice little Velcro roller. It doesn't matter, anything cylindrical is going to help it. You can use all your brushes in there if you've got enough brushes to put in there and cut them to cool down. Rollers are great for eliminate frizz in the hair as well. And then we just clip that on the inside. That way you don't get any marks, etc. Come back in with a little bit of RePlay, and we just let that sit there and cool. I've come slightly off base. I'm not taking it into the maximum. So you've obviously got options once again. So to show you what I mean by that, to get maximum root lift as it's cooling down, I run the roller right the way through from the root base up. Take the ends under, because you've got different lengths of ends. So it's much easier to take the roller up to mid-length of the hair and then just tuck your ends in, as opposed to trying to take the roller to the ends and roll in. A little tip my mother gave me from years back when she was doing hair. Saw me struggling on a roller one day and she just showed me that. So nice to see it being passed down generations. So as you can see from here, from lifting that roller up, I'm now getting much more root movement through here. So there's always a method in our madness of how you put the application in. So I've lifted it up higher. When I've rolled it up, that's going to give me a little bit more root movement too when it's finished. I can sit that one in there, let it cool down. We'll take that one out of the end, see what it's given us. So now we're going to work on the drier section of hair. So this is just air dried. You've just had some leave-in put in there, but it's just had a light amount of air, so that hair's become very, what I call, aerated. So it's got lots of volume, nice amount of air put into it to keep it nice and light. We've had booster go into this when it's wet, just to make sure it's got a nice amount of movement. But now I'm going to show you how I'm going to use hot tools on hair to create different textures and smoothness. You've got a question in there, Mike?
We do, yeah.
First one on Unite Live.
Would you use the new Silky Smooth products and Laser Straight at the same time, or do I just pick one or the other?
Not necessary to use them at the same time. One does one thing and one is slightly different. They're very different products. Laser Straight is a smoothing lotion, okay, to be used blow dry. When it's washed, it's gone. There's nothing else in there. Silky Smooth is going to give you the benefit over 3 to even 4 shampoos. It's got way more of a permanence to it. It's going to last multiple amount of days in your hair as well and keeps your hair smoother. So for that, answer that question. Different products, don't be confused about them. So we always want to make the hairdresser's life easier, not harder. So now we're going to come into curling hair. I'm going to curl the hair without any product in this whatsoever, just so you can see difference using product is to hair, because you always get that one client in there says, oh, I don't like any product in the hair, etc. I always say, well, then show them this one, because it's always worth the impact value. So I'm just going to warm up my curling wand.
20 minutes left there.
20 minutes left to go. Time fly when you're having fun. So I'm going to speed up a little bit. Right, it's nice and hot. So no product on the hair. We did put it in obviously when it's damp, but nothing on there since. I'm going to take a nice size section that is going to marry that piece that we're working on. Paddy's got so much hair, I've got them losing clips in the back of her head. I'm just going to spin around a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. So anyone who's doing any curling work in a salon, they want to make their hair work last longer. Okay, we would come back in, argument's sake, we're using a reasonable size barrel on the curling wand. We're leaving the hair on for approximately, 5-6 seconds. We're going to let it drop out. She has great hair that likes to be bent and molded. We're just going to do this with a comparison one next to it, but we're going to apply some product. So there's multiple different types of product you can use for your prep, but I'm going to come back in. I'm going to use Booster on dry hair. And I always recommend, this is a hairdresser's trick. I don't recommend this for any consumers out there in the world, because it just requires a little bit more work. So watch the amount I'm putting in. Small dusting, come in with a hairdryer, and we're just going to dry off the wet moisture feel of it. All I've done is dried out what I call the wetness of the product. We haven't taken the product off because Booster is heat activated, so I'm only using a cool setting just to take the wetness out of the hair, so I can feel it in there. Okay, we're going to come in, because Paddy's got colour in the hair, I'm going to use 2-3 more applications, especially on the ends of the hair where there's more colour. One, you've got the added bonus, it's obviously got heat protection in there, but that part of the hair is really going to need it as well. So come in, dry that off. And remember, roots to ends. We're not roughing the hair up, so we're not making this knotty, etc. Obviously, I'll normally do this over the whole head, but the application-wise stays the same, is that I'm always rough drying it roots to ends. I never come in with a hairdryer horizontally and start blasting the hair, because it's going to really knot the hair up and make life hard for me. So one little more application, both sides of the hair. Just brush that through a little bit, make sure we've got a nice, clean application. And what you're going to find as well, even a little bit under these lights, but you're going to start seeing a little shine develop on this, which is a really great byproduct of using the product. Let's just have a little chat about what you're going to find on Unite Hair TV. As I say, this is a very sort of like nice, what I call gentle opening for us to show what we're going to be bringing through to you on this bi-weekly thing. And it's a lot of it's going to be like hip tips and little pieces like that. If we've got an hour-long schedule, you might see haircuts. You're going to get business information. There's going to be all types coming on here. So don't think this is just like what you're going to get all the time. The idea is that we want to cater for all types of hairdressers, be it the ones at the very beginning, people that lack product knowledge, etc., that you're maybe new to the brand, experienced hairdressers as well that maybe need something else, want to talk about maybe coming to Fashion Week, because people that look very much like it's on in September. All the feedback I'm getting is obviously everything's opening up, and I've got the agents already and the shows are already starting to get booked in. So there'll be more information about that nearer the time. Keep following us on Unite Hair TV, unitehair.com, and is it unitehair_.tv? What's the
Unite_hair TV.
Unite_hair TV. I always get that wrong. There'll be lots more notification coming on there. So yes, this is only a very small snippet of what we're going to be bringing. So what happens is when you use the product in there, just making sure it feels nice, it actually stiffens. It goes quite hard. It feels like you've had a lot of hairspray on there. But what it allows us to do is when it brushes out, it becomes really, really smooth. I'm going to split this in half. There's just too much hair in that. It's just being too optimistic. Let that sit in my hand just for a minute and just let that cool down just slightly. And there we go. And what you're going to find, if I just pull my hand, just rake my fingers through this, much, much softer without any product on there. We'll come back, we'll rake that one through in a minute, just like that one's had 5 minutes to sit. No twisting on the hair on this. You can leave the ends out so you get a nice straighter look. It's always very, very popular, especially for all your Instagram pictures. It's just a matter of choice. And let's come in above the section. I'm going to use a large barrel curling iron. How we do for time, Mike?
About another 15 minutes.
Okay. And I'm going to use some hairspray for this front section, just to prep it in. I'm going to use our RePlay, which is our 4th hairspray in all the families. It's an extreme workable, brushable hairspray, new to us this year. It's fantastic. I'm always using this like a prepping product as well. So nice amount. Just going to let that sit on there quickly. I'm going to build this up just a little bit, just like I use booster, with something just a little bit different. Other questions in there?
We do, yeah. Somebody is curious when the next live will be and what the topic is.
It's every 2 weeks. I believe the next one is going to be June 7th, and it's going to be on. It's all about refreshing with Unite products, PK. So you've basically you've got another hour of me going through the whole product line, giving you as much product knowledge as you need. If you do wish to see a little bit of it going on here, please drop us a line, either on email or on, say, the direct messages. I always think it's a lot nicer when you see the products going on, even if you've got a mannequin head, etc., showing how they work on a head of hair as opposed to just always talking about them. So we can have a lot more fun and a lot more interaction with that. So I've doubled up on the hairspray. Still working that hair roots to ends all the time. Let's just check the heat of my curling iron. I don't really recommend you doing this at home, but I've got old rhino skin at this age. Doesn't burn that easily.
Just a quick note too about our next live. The full calendar of events is on the website for Unite TV. So you can see the dates and the topics.
So as you can see through here, I'm using the iron very, very controlled, keeping it close to the root bases to coat as opposed to coming to the ends. I want to make sure that movement stays constant and the distribution of the heat in the curling iron stays constant as well. So I haven't come away from the head. Let me just move around a better camera angle. There you go. So I'm going to do that again at this camera angle, just to show you how I'm using it. So I put the iron in, wrap the hair around the curling iron, close the tongue of it, and I twist the iron, but keeping the iron close to the head. And what that allows me to do is that the hair is then starting to wrap itself under the tongue of the curling iron. Once again, you're getting nice even heat distribution all the way to the ends of the hair. It's very important we get all the ends in. We want to create a very similar finish compared to what we've got on the other side of the hair, with lots of volume, but really, really smooth. I'm checking now for heat distribution. I can feel the heat coming through the iron. Once again, you've got a bit of thermal protection from the hairspray, which is great. But it's also helping to solidify that set. Slide the iron out. Come back in with a flat duckbill clip. And put it through here. If you're doing bridal work, etc., anything like that, my tip for you would be always maybe get some barber's crepe, etc. And you can place that on the top of the hair and pin it, or on the inside. What that does, I just think, especially when you're doing bridal hair, one, you're not going to get a crease mark on the hair because the paper is going to eliminate that. But also when you've got it through here, it stops makeup artists wanting to put their hand all over it, because we've all been there when you've done bridal hair, etc. And the makeup artist comes in, they slap the hair on the head, putting all that, making all that hair go flat after you just worked on it for ages. I'm going to come back in. I'm just going to rake through that last piece that I've got through here. So even though it's a large barreled, it's got, as you can see through here, it's got shine, but it's also got a great amount of spring to it. Really, really, it's got great curl retention through that. Now, the proof of the pudding in this is that generally, if you brush it through, brush through both sections through here, brush through the one without any product on. So not a lot of difference, you're going to think to myself, but I just take this hair out, tease it a little bit, create some soft texture through here, do the same on this side. Destroy what we're working on for a little bit. Then we'll come back in, maybe put a bit of spray on there. Let's use a bit of texturizer, number one go-to. Okay, we tried texturizing the hair, looks a mess, we don't like that, client doesn't like it, it's absolutely fine. And what you're going to see is that the curl retention is still going to be, and the shine in the hair is still great. It's just got more bounce in this one. This one I'm having to work with my hands a little bit, just to force this to come back up. Whereas this one's got so much more play in it. So by taking the ends of the hair, using your two fingers like scissors, and just push it back on itself, just allows me to break up the hair enough just to create nice, soft texture, very beachy, very desirable. Okay, we're coming to the end. I want to take out that roller now. Let's just see what we've got on this side. Brush through all of that section. Beautiful soft movement. It's got a lovely shine to that. We're going to accentuate that by just using a bit of our 7 seconds glossing spray. What I want you to take notice of through here, those different finishes that we had. We had the fine hair blow dry underneath. We've got the hair underneath through here. It's really sitting close to the scalp. And then we've got the roller through here that's giving that lovely soft bend with a high shine to it. So to say that's got that professional finish and kick. And even though we've married different techniques together, you can see on different types of hair types how you could still blend that in, is that sometimes maybe we might not want loads of volume underneath, but we might need it on the top, depending on the head shape. Very important to understand that, is that sometimes we need to understand where do we need volume. So with Paget, I'm always going to be thinking, I want to create volume in the sides, really accentuate how that cheekbone comes across through here. So I've got that pop coming through here, it takes it away from the head shape. And then when we take it out on the other side, let's have a look in comparison of just using large barreled curling iron. Always when you take hair out and when you've curled it and you think, oh, it's a bit too curly, it's just like we used to do back in the day when we were setting hair, is that you've really got to come in and really give it a vigorous brushing to really get the best out of it. So you can see through here, Paddy wants to resist me again, which is great. But that's where I'm going to get the maximum amount of benefit out of curling her hair. Don't ever panic at this stage if you think, oh, it's a bit too curly. Just keep brushing it and working that hair. And as you can see through here, I've really got a great amount of tension on that brush, is that I know it's been set really well. And it's going to have a great amount of hold in it. The more I brush it out, the more it relaxes, the more I can then form it into the finish I want. So even though we haven't got full hairstyles today, you can see just by using different techniques, using them in a professional manner. I come back in through here, little cheat for you, taking over the top of the textured spray, put your clip in. You let that set, depending on what finish you've got in, for a few minutes. That's just going to hold it. Takes away all those curly ends. You've then got what you've looking like freshly blow-dried hair from just using a curling iron. It's going to stay in. So different techniques, different textures. I've loved being here with you all today. Please stay tuned for the next one. Say 2 weeks' time. It's going to be really heavy on product knowledge, like what I've got behind me, but all the range. And then moving further forward, you're going to find lots more of in-depth styling, more hairstyle specifics. You're going to find lots more on haircuts, a little bit of business, and also online as well. So much appreciated. I don't think we've got any more questions on there, Mike. Just have a quick check.
No, that's it.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Well, much appreciated, everyone. We'll see you next time. Thank you.